Today, we're going to be covering the sad details of Angelina Jolie's past relationships, in particular, her 3 divorces. Okay, she has not been lucky in love. She's been lucky in the limelight, but unfortunately, not so much when it comes to her intimate relationships. Now, she has built an incredible career spanning decades, but again, her love life has not been as successful. It started from her strained relationship with her father, Jon Voight, and her drama-filled divorce from Brad Pitt that everyone has been talking about. And we can see and hear that there's been a lot of strain in that relationship. That was probably one of her most painful relationships, particularly when we know that there was, or at least claims of abuse to have happened between her and Brad Pitt. Now let's start with some of the boyfriends that she's had. While filming 2004's Alexander, she sparked rumors of being with Colin Farrell, and she was also attached or linked with Val Kilmer in 2021. And also The Weeknd, they were spotted spending a lot of time together. Now the thing is, those relationships were never confirmed, but they were also never denied. So fans believe that there was something going on in those relationships, but probably not long enough or significant enough to, make mention of it. Now we do know for certain that she had dated a woman, Jenny Shimizu, in the 90s, and has been married to 3 fellow actors since then. Her first marriage was to Jonny Lee Miller, and she had admitted that she lost her identity after marrying Jonny Lee Miller. Now, before she was a household name, she was an aspiring actor, and she was trying to break out of her father's shadow. That's part of the reason why she did not take on her dad's last name. She explained that in the New York Times in 1996, why she doesn't use Jon Voight's last name, because she was trying to make a name for herself and not be attached to her dad. In addition, they did not have a good relationship. Apparently, that relationship was strained, and typically, they say that if your relationship with your primary caregiver as a child was strained or difficult, that could lead to certain behaviors and patterns, mistakes, I guess, or learned behavior that would appear in your, adult relationships and romantic relationships. Okay, as they say, daddy issues. Not saying that that's the case. However, it seems that for whatever reason, Angelina has chosen men that ultimately were not good for her or her kids. Okay, the first romance it was a whirlwind romance. It started in 1996. Well, they tied the knot in March 1996. Their wedding was anything but traditional. It only had 2 guests, her mom and his best friend. And the bride wore black rubber pants with a t-shirt that had Miller's name written in her blood. I don't know what it is about the blood thing, but that happened to 2 of her marriages. This explaining the wild sartorial choice, she cheekily told the New York Times, "It's your husband. You can sacrifice a little to make it really special." Okay, so swapping blood to Angelina Jolie is special. Unfortunately, having to sacrifice for your hubby ultimately proved to be too much for Jolie. And she said during a press event promoting Hackers that she found journalists were more interested in her nuptials and in her marriage than in her work as an actor. This was not cool for her. It's weird to immediately be married and then you kind of lose your identity. As she explained to the newspaper, you're like, oh, you're half of a couple now. I've lost me. I was thinking I need to get back to myself. Now, in hindsight, Jolie took full responsibility for her first divorce. She was young. First of all, she was 20 and he was 22. She said that before saying I do, she was kind of it was actually a red flag that initially concerned Jolie. I wondered if we should stay engaged for a while, since he was going to be in Britain and she was going to stay in LA, but they went ahead and quickly got married, which obviously ended up being the wrong decision. When you're young and you're in Hollywood and it seems like a good idea and you marry somebody hastily, and you, for whatever reason, don't take the time to stay in that engagement process, or at least live together, or figure out, can this relationship work with long distance relationship? Sometimes I feel like maybe at that time they were thinking, let's be married. Maybe marriage and the idea of marriage will keep us together, and that while you're in Britain and I'm here, it'll only strengthen our bond. But it actually just pulled them apart. So what she said in the end is, it's not fair to the other person that I'm so busy with my career and that I'm often distant even when I am with somebody. She said, Jonny and I never fought, We never hurt each other. I really wanted to be his wife. Unfortunately, she couldn't make the necessary sacrifices. He deserves more than I'm prepared to give at this time in my life. I think that's the honest truth, right? And that's all that you can expect from somebody who's young. I think 20 years of age is, unless you're in a certain different culture, it's really young for a lot of people nowadays. Young people are waiting longer to get married. They're practicing being married by living together, playing the part before tying the knot, and making it legal and official, and then having to go through the pain of breaking up or going through a divorce if they discover that they're not compatible. All right. Divorce didn't end Jolie's friendship with Miller. The good thing is that it's reported that they are still friends. They've been very supportive. In fact, this relationship has lasted decades after the friendship, at least. Their divorce was finalized in '99. They kept in touch, and Jolie dubbed her ex a solid man and a solid friend. In 2003, via People, and even proclaimed in 2004, divorcing Jonny was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. Okay, he does in fact seem to have been, based on the other subsequent marriages, been a great choice. But who knows? In Hollywood, being married at 20 to 22, there are not a lot of Hollywood marriages that past even 5 years. So I think it was meant to be that they are friends now. Let's go to the next relationship. Oh my gosh. I remember when Billy Bob Thornton and Angelina Jolie were tied as a pair. I was like, that's strange. I couldn't see it. I didn't know why, partially because they seemed to be two different people, and he was considered to be older. So they met, Angelina Jolie met Billy Bob on another film set, okay, while shooting Pushing Tin in 1999. In fact, her divorce just finalized. Jolie apparently fell in love with Billy Bob Thornton, who was actually engaged to Laura Dern at the time. Yikes. This is not the only time that that's happened, okay? So there's a pattern here. He abruptly called that off, and then he and Jolie went to Vegas to elope in 2000. What's the other pattern? She eloped, whirlwind relationship, meets the guy, falls in love, and guess what? A vial of blood. Like, blood was involved as well. Their nuptials were tabloid gold. The couple continued to feed the press with their over-the-top antics, and who could ever forget that each of them were wearing each other's, like a vial of each other's blood. I don't know what religion they follow, or if that has anything to do with it, or if it's just a symbolism of like, yeah, we are like blood lovers instead of blood brothers and blood sisters. They're blood lovers. Don't know what that is, but doesn't seem to work. I think that when blood is involved, Angelina, it means that the relationship is doomed. So jump to 2002 when Jolie adopted Maddox while they were married, and everything appeared to be going well until it wasn't. Jolie and Thornton surprised fans when they filed for divorce that year, and it seemed to surprise themselves too. As Jolie told Vanity Fair in 2005, they slowly drifted apart until it was too late. He was focused on music and touring, and she developed a newfound passion working with the United Nations High Commissioners for Refugees. So her focus started shifting towards humanitarian work and social impact. In a year, I became who I am today, very much, and he became who he is today. And it was just totally different paths in life. Now, she told the publication, we then just looked at each other one day and said we had nothing to say to each other. Thornton agreed in 2018, the HFPA in Conversation interview. We just had different lifestyles, and hers is a global lifestyle and mine is an agoraphobic lifestyle, and that was quote unquote. Now, Thornton blamed himself for the split. I found this very, very interesting, which is really telling of the relationship and what could have happened. Now, Billy Bob Thornton and Angelina Jolie divorce was actually finalized May 2003. Thornton initially told the Associated Press that I don't think either of us knows why we split up. A year later, though, he appeared to have had time to reflect on the split and put much of the blame on himself. He actually spoke very candidly with NBC in 2004, and he admitted, Angie was the only person that I ever had a chance with, and I screwed that up. Shutting down any cheating rumors, the actor said the divorce was completely his fault, and not because he had been unfaithful. I walked away. He said I was afraid of her. She was too beautiful for me. She was too smart for me. She had too much integrity for me. I felt so small next to her. Thornton shared a similar sentiment with GQ years later, explaining to the outlet in 2016, I never felt good enough for her. You know, if I'm gonna tell an honest truth, when Angelina Jolie, who was at the time young and beautiful, started dating Billy Bob Thornton, I'm like, this guy must have something, an edge, maybe a cool disposition, or maybe he was the daddy figure, given that the relationship with her father was strained, and she's now dating somebody who is, much older. Doesn't have your typical, Brad Pitt looks, let's face it, or her previous husband, which was, just obviously good looking. I'm not saying Bob is not a good looking man, but, when you put them side by side, I can see why he might have had some insecurities. Although I know that Angelina Jolie, as a partner, as a parent, you can just tell that when she cares about somebody, when she's willing to wear a vial of blood, like she had put everything into that, but he just thought, wow, she's just way too hot for me, way too beautiful. And that's what caused him to walk away. Maybe he just, again, if a man does not feel good enough in a relationship, there's nothing you can really do about that, right? So that was a big part of the reason why they split up, and he took responsibility for that. It's unclear if Jolie would agree with those statements. However, when cheating rumors first broke, she said to Vanity Fair, "I don't think they're untrue." She also told the magazine in 2005 that Thornton was indeed driven away from her, but not because of her beauty or smarts. Rather, she said it was Maddox's adoption that frightened him. "He wasn't ready, but he sent me his love," she lamented. "It's kind of tragic." And that goes back to saying, look, I'm not good enough. She has integrity. She's smart. Like, here she wants a family. Here, like, I just want to live the agoraphobic lifestyle. So there you go. And then finally, you've got the infamous pairing to her divorce from him goes beyond messy, but it also started a little bit messy because the pair met on the set of 2005's Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He was still married to Jennifer Aniston. Soon, infidelity rumors became rampant, but Jolie was adamant that their romance was never as salacious as the tabloids said. "I think we found this strange friendship and partnership that kind of just suddenly happened," she said in 2006, according to the Hollywood Reporter. However, man, Mr. and Mrs. Smith was a crazy movie, one of my favorites. I loved the attitude from both of them. You could see the fierce, intense chemistry. They're both really great looking. I mean, Angelina Jolie always had this badass woman that was in control. She had a little bit of a dark side, a little bit of that edge, where, Jennifer Aniston was always sort of like apple pie and Friends and sweet and your typical blonde. Not that she wasn't smart, more of a kind and sweet person. And Jolie was kind of like the mirror opposite. She's a sex symbol. I mean, I feel like she's the brunette version of, Jessica Rabbit, if you will. Look at her with all of the movies that she plays. It's usually a vixen of some sort, very seductress, very sexy. And so when you see that on screen, you're like, yeah, I could see why. Anyway, they ended up being together. They married in 2014. They share 6 children when they were together, from adoption to their own kids, and they filed divorce in 2016. And it was just days after Pitt was reportedly abusive towards her and the kids. Now, TMZ learned that Pitt was allegedly intoxicated during a fight on a private jet that everyone's talking about. He reportedly became belligerent towards Jolie and their children, and both the LAPD and LA County Department of Children and Family Service investigated it. But Pitt, who later admitted to yelling at Maddox, was cleared of all abuse allegations. Now, the split that followed was equally dramatic and made just as many headlines. First, they couldn't agree on custody. Then they went back and forth. Then Pitt received joint custody, and he wanted Jolie, who previously accused her ex of failing to pay child support, appealed the decision. She also filed court documents that year alleging that he had proof of ongoing domestic abuse. While the actors became legally single in 2019, as of June 2024, they still weren't divorced. Now, part of that is because of the Brangelina winery drama. There was a lot of drama around the winery and who should own it and all this messy stuff. It wasn't nice. I mean, these two that were, hand in hand and looked like the picture of love and the ultimate power couple post the Jennifer Aniston, Brad Pitt power couple, new power couple, completely down the drain, okay? And it's unfortunate now because it seems that Angelina and Brad's kids are clearly choosing sides with mom. In fact, one of their kids wants to even change the name and not use it. Speaking with OK in 2022, an insider alleged that Maddox, Pax, and Zahara, they don't really see both sides of the picture. Rather, they're on Team Angelina. Indeed, the Daily Mail discovered that 16-year-old Pax celebrated Father's Day with a secret Instagram post in which he ripped into Pitt, calling him a world world-class a-hole. Yikes. I mean, I feel for Brad on that, especially, you're out in the public. This is your son. I can't imagine that anyone would want to receive that, let alone a celebrity. Doesn't matter who you are as a dad. That's pretty terrible. What's more, Brad Pitt's relationship with his daughter Zahara appeared strained as she dropped his last name and he was nowhere to be found as she went off to college. And as well, for Pitt's relationship with Maddox, it's not any warmer. When asked about a possible reconciliation, Maddox seemed indifferent, telling In Touch in 2019, whatever happens, happens. And the final blow in 2024 is when Vivienne stopped using his last name publicly. And again, when Shiloh filed to permanently drop Pitt from her moniker on her 18th birthday, he's aware and upset that Shiloh dropped his last name, a source told People. And the reminders that he's lost his children is, of course, not easy for Brad. So there you go. There you have the 3 major marriages with Angelina Jolie and what's going on behind the scenes. It starts from her primary relationship with her father. And we know that relationships, strained childhood caregiver relationships can often lead to strained romantic, intimate partner relationships in your future. There's no talk of Angelina Jolie getting any help or doing therapy or whatnot. A, that's none of our business, but B, we're not hearing about it. Could be something that she wants to look into. Seems like she's spending a lot of her time in humanitarian work, which is great. Lots of gratitude. I'd love to know your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the partner choices for Angelina Jolie? They seem to be quite different, timed different, some coming in too early, some coming in, too fast. And so there you have it. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments until our next show.